Shak.
He's
Hey.
there.
Sorry about that. Not bad. How are you guys?
Hello. Welcome again to Revenue Search. We're going to spend some time digging in, as we always do, to a subnet, Bittensor subnets. That's what we're all about, finding out which ones you should be investing in and maybe which ones you shouldn't. I'm Mark Creaser, and my co-host, as always, Siam Kid. Siam, who have we got today? What we're talking about?
Howdy. Yeah, we have. Sorry for the screaming kids. The kids have got like a play date and they just won't shut up. Hopefully, it's not coming through the mic. So we have Shakeel or Shak from Ridges. And before we hand the mic over and start interrogating Shak, I have to address one thing. I see vicious rumors. Well, not very vicious. That we only interview subnets that we OTC with and do deals with and whatnot. And it's not true. So I looked through all of our revenue searches, and we've only done 7 deals with out of the 18 pods that we've done. So, and so it's not that. Like I've always said from the beginning, we want to interview every subnet owner, at least once. So this is open to any subnet owner. So if you're watching or if you just found out about revenue search, please just prod me in the ribs and let's get something booked in. However, for transparency and disclosure for this, it's now 8 out of 19 pods because DSV has recently made a deal with Ridges. So we thought we'd just announce it today. So we did a 300K deal, 200 OTC, 100 live on market, and we've bought a lot more than that 100K across a whole bunch of different wallets. So yeah, so now the full everything's out. That is our announcement for today. And so first of all, Shak, who are you? Where are you from? And then if you could treat Mark like an idiot and explain Ridges in idiot language, that would be great.
Sure. So I'm Shakeel. I'm from Toronto. Born and raised with like half of Bittensor. I have like a background in a bunch of different things. I was in dental school for a bit, then I did like high frequency trading for a bit, and I worked on the Twitter transition team for a bit. So I'm based out of Toronto. We're working on Ridges, which is basically AI software agents. So the idea is that like ideally in the limit you get to fire your whole engineering team and just replace them with agents. Is what we're working on. The idea is that like instead of getting a software engineer to code for you, you just tell the agent and it does the whole thing for you end to end without having to have a human like supervise it.
Nice. So would I be far off in saying that if you were to extrapolate your current trajectory, at the worst case, you'll make existing coders 100x better, and best case, you're just going to disintermediate coding full stop, and that humans won't ever have to learn to code.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're trying to do.
Sweet. Over to you, Mark.
So, who's got coders then at the moment? How many companies have got coders? Are they coding specialist companies, or do lots of companies have coders?
Most companies do. So the coding market's like I think over $400 billion per year in engineer salary. There's like lots of companies that are like tech first, like Facebook, Instagram. They obviously have lots of programmers to like develop their stuff. A lot of times, like you have smaller companies as well, like for example, like accounting firms and stuff like that, that will need their own custom software. So they will hire either coders in-house to build it for them, or they'll pay a company that like builds that one specific custom software for them. And that company that builds that software for them has their own programmers that they hire to build it.
And you said it was $400 billion market
Per year, yeah.
That's the salaries being spent on engineers from those tech first companies and tech second companies.
Yeah, quite a bit.
It's quite a lot, isn't it? And what Ridges is going to be able to do is mean that nobody needs those coders anymore. Is this a bad news for coders revenue search?
I mean, I think so. I think it's coming. Like AI models are good enough to like kind of like start coding. But ideally, like all those people are made redundant.
And so Simon's question really was, is it going to make them better or is it going to make them redundant? So are there 2 phases to this? Is there a phase where Ridges is going to help them and they are going to be much faster, and then there's going to be a phase where actually we just don't need them? And what are the timelines for those phases?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that like we start with something that like a human uses, and like the AI, like the programmer will just use it to like do their work for them, do it much faster. They can get a lot more work done. But eventually, like you don't need that human to review its work, and then like you kind of like remove the human from the loop. The timeline I think that we have in mind is pretty aggressive, especially because there are a lot of companies like working on this already. So we want to get like this first product out like in the next few weeks that allows anyone to actually use it as a programmer, pay for it, and just be a lot more productive in their jobs. And then from there, as we kind of see how people use it and we make the product better as the miners improve the agents, eventually we'll kind of like scale, like phase them out and make it like a lot more easier for like a PM, for example, to like a product manager to like use it directly without having to talk to an engineer to manage it.
So those those tech second companies then, for just on a moment, who's going to make the decision to bring something like Ridges into the organization? Doesn't strike me as something that coders are necessarily going to be waving flags.
To do. Yeah. I mean, a lot of companies have like a chief technical officer or someone that's involved with it, whose job is to basically like just get the most work done. And so for them, it would be like just like a major productivity boost, especially to start, where like it just like it's almost like if you don't use it, you're at a disadvantage. So they would kind of have to bring it in. There is actually like a pretty big market of companies that haven't adopted it, but that's for other reasons, like which are usually privacy. For example, like we're open source. A lot of companies are closed source, and companies have a problem sending their proprietary code base to like closed source companies. But the demand is there for similar products. Like that market's also grown quite a bit in the last year.
So in terms of similar products, then who is similar? What do those similar products look like?
There's a bunch. The biggest one right now is Claude Code. They're like the
Claude Code.
Claude Code, yeah.
Yeah.
They do something where it's like a chat interface similar to like ChatGPT, except like you ask it and it runs on your computer. You ask it a question, it basically reads through all your files and figures out how to solve the coding problem. Then you have guys like Cursor, which are kind of like focusing on making it really easy to supervise the agent. Those guys have grown quite a bit. Similar ones like Devin, stuff like that. There's a bunch of companies in the space.
Yeah, sometimes I wish we could replace Siam with AI, because then we wouldn't have to watch him munching his way through a Snickers. And then did you just pour that drink over yourself? And I think you might be muted as well. I think there's a real risk that you're muted.
So I've just got a massive chunk of ice. So when I took a sip, I splashed back and then just facialed me. So carry on, Mark.
Okay. So Claude, I've heard of Claude. They sound fairly well funded.
Very well funded, yeah.
Yeah. So how are we going to kind of get to market and get a slice of that market ahead of them?
So the main focus that everyone's kind of doing is building like the AI models under it. So they actually run at like the rumors are like a negative 500% margin, because their models are very, very expensive to run, and so they make the model better, the product gets better, but they're losing money hand over fist. We've taken a different approach where basically like our idea is that you have the LLM, which every year are going to get better and better. What we're getting miners to compete on is just building like software around the model that lets you use the model really well. So for example, like it'll allow like the agent will basically call an LLM, it'll look at its response, it'll make decisions. Did the LLM get it right? Like, okay, it says to read these files, let's read these files and send it back, that kind of stuff. And what that means is that like we're kind of model agnostic. So our unit economics are a lot better than a lot of the other companies, where they are trying to get better by improving the underlying model. We are kind of assuming that the underlying model will always get better and better, which is what we're seeing. And so we're actually building like the tooling on top, the scaffolding on top to like take advantage of those better models. So it's like a completely different, I guess, like go-to-market business model. It's like much more sustainable. Our inference costs us 1/250th of the score that these guys have. And in the last couple of weeks, we've already gotten to like half of their performance, and we're increasing every day. We actually did an experiment yesterday where we forced all the agents to run on a worse model, and their score dropped from 45% of problems solved in our evaluation set to 30%, and as of this morning, they're back at 42%. So this approach of like you building like better tooling around models to allow it to solve problems instead of trying to use more and more expensive models seems to be working. And so I think like we will actually be able to come to the market profitably, where everyone else is coming at like negative 500% right now.
So just so I've got my head around that then. So Claude coding, they're building their own AI model, and then the coding is kind of an option on top of that. And what
Yes,
you're
exactly.
building is you're just building the coding element, and you'll be able to plug that in to anybody else's LLM, and
Yeah.
it's agnostic. So what does that mean? So how many LLMs have I got to choose from that would work with Ridges?
As many as you want. So the idea is that like every year, every month, someone's coming out with a better model, and we can just like use their model too, and all of a sudden the product gets better. So OpenAI's Anthropic's models, we can also use like Claude. We can actually use the Claude models ourselves if we need to. We can use open source models, like we use Shoots and Targon right now to host our models for us. So we're using DeepSeek, we're using Quen, all these sorts of models. So the idea is that like we're not tied to one model such that like we need that model to get better for the product to improve. The product's going to improve whether or not the model stays stagnant, whether or not they get better. And if they get better, great, our product gets even better now.
So you're kind of shortcutting the Claude bit. You're taking the investment that other people have made into Claude.
Yeah, exactly.
They're losing money building that underlying model, and you're like running the
Plugging
last
it on top.
50 meters of the marathon
Exactly. Yeah, and getting all the
and
money.
collecting the medal and all
Yeah.
the credit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I like the sound of that. That's my kind of marathon length.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds pretty smart. But okay, so then back onto kind of the go to market. What is the plan there? How are you going to get this in front of prospective users and convince them to use this? Because they don't care that
Yeah.
other
They
people
just
are
want to be the
losing money.
best. Mhm.
They don't even know if it's the best, because they're probably not going to do a lot of testing.
Yeah.
They're just going to pick something because
It
they've
either
heard
works or doesn't for them.
yeah. But the first thing is they've got to hear about it.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a couple of ways for this. People that are in this market are usually actually software engineers. They're the ones that are the main users right now. And it's like it's a crazy active market. Like it's grown from like 3.25 billion to like 4.6 billion in the last year. 76% of engineers now use these tools daily, software engineers. So they are actually like very plugged into like what's available. And something as much as like 97% have like tried them at least. And so what we're kind of seeing is that like you almost have like little waves of products coming out, and as soon as one product is just better, it's nicer to use, everyone kind of switches. There's very little stickiness. No one kind of has like loyalty to one product because there's nothing really tying them there. You just like pick up with the next product and continue. So there was a period of time where, for example, like Cursor was on top, and then Windsurf, I don't know if you heard about them, kind of came out, and like they got a lot of usage because people kind of talked about it on Twitter. And then after that, Claude Code came out, and now everyone switched to that. It happens to be the case that like the majority of people that are using this product are also very plugged into avenues like Twitter and stuff. And it's a very small circle, so there's a lot of word of mouth. So I have a lot of people that I know that I can get to use it, and we actually have a new feature coming out today to like get them involved in like building the product too. And I think from there we'll bootstrap like a lot of word of mouth, where the only question for us is get the product better, get it cheaper, and I think the users are very unsticky. They're looking for better and better products to use, and I think they'll come.
So, sorry. Did you say that 76% of coders are currently using something like this to kind of shortcut their own workload?
Yes, exactly. It's got immense adoption.
And do you think that in organizations, do you think of those 76%, how many do you think are organization led, like, hey, we're going to use this? And how many do you think that people are just paying for it out of their own pocket to save themselves some time?
I think that this answer, like at least the paper that I read it from, is mostly people paying for it themselves. Because like it's not terribly expensive and software engineers are well paid. Um, Organization led is actually where the biggest unlock comes from, I think, because they're willing to pay a lot more per seat to use these products, but they can't. So I think that like a lot of the lack of usage comes from the fact that the companies cannot use it because they have like kind of restrictions on their code base that say that we cannot send our code to this company for them to process and give us an answer with their coding AI. Um, we actually don't have that problem. So I think that'll be like another pretty good avenue to market for us because well, for example, like Claude Code, their model is proprietary. They can't just send their model to some random company to run themselves. For us, we're open source. We're just building a layer on top, so we can actually build like a white glove product for them that the company can run in house, no problem, because everything's available to read.
What's the new thing that you mentioned deep in that conversation that's going to make everything easier for you?
So we're releasing a product that lets like anyone external researchers mine. And then what we will do is we will take like a portion of the alpha that they make if they are winners on the subnet, and liquidate it and deposit it direct to their bank account. So from their perspective, whenever they log on to the product, they'll see a big banner that says, "Hey, make 20 grand a day competing to make this product better." And then they can go without touching crypto, without touching Bittensor. They just go onto a dashboard. They upload everything through the dashboard. We handle like processing it, submitting it as a miner, and getting emission. If that gets emission, then they get a percentage of that.
And how are you where is that money that you're paying them coming from? Are you then selling the alpha into Tau, converting Tau to fiat, and then
Exactly. Yeah. So they basically submit it as like to us. We process it. We submit it as a miner on our subnet as part of like the main kind of like competition. And then if their submission can get emission, we take that emission. Yeah, we liquidate 70% of it. So 30% is a subnet cut, and then 70% we sell, which is a little less than our current sell pressure. And then we basically convert that into Tau, sell the Tau into dollars, and direct deposit the dollars into the bank account.
so I guess this answers the question that at Chardy999 has asked then.
Yeah. I think this is a different question. This is like more to do with buybacks, and perhaps I'm misunderstanding it. Justification for paying miners directly rather than buying the token back. The miners sell it anyway. Oh, I think this is in reference to something else that I said, where like the question was, will I use the revenue to like buy back alpha? And I'm a little bit split-minded on this. I'm not sure 100% what to do. So one idea that I had was just take revenue and instead of buying back alpha, just give it to the miners directly. The pros of this is that like instead of us kind of like indirectly giving it to them by buying the alpha, increasing the alpha price, and then them getting more rewards, they just get the money anyway direct to their pocket. However, I think that like there's another side to this where if we buy back the alpha, that one miner will also get the increased emission, but so long as the alpha is like, kind of kept higher, every other miner will also get more rewards. So it's possibly more efficient to like buy back directly. But yeah, I'm unclear on what to do there. Like I'm not sure like how to kind of like reward alpha token holders with the revenue that the company makes, which I think will be substantial because our margins will be quite big.
Yeah, and just going back to the previous point, sorry for creating another thread there. I guess if you're sending the money directly to the miner in fiat, etc., it means that
Yeah.
you have a higher sort of control of miner dumpage. I guess
Yes.
because
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
you sort of peter out that, and with
Yeah.
every subnet, really, it's the miners that are creating those down only charts.
Yes. Yeah.
And I guess with the subnets with more of a resilient price action is because they, I use Score all the time, but Score, their main miners, they're good friends with each other, and
Yeah.
the miners of Score, they believe in the project, so they reluctantly dump. They only sell when what they have
Yes.
to. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
guess I like that. So you get to control, I guess, the bleeding. So it's not just like
Yeah. And we can also perhaps even like raise, for example, if we were to raise money for the company, we can use that to effectively buy at market price from those miners the alpha and sell none of it. Because we also want to like accumulate as much alpha as we can. We're seeing this, yeah. We're seeing this in miners too, where like a lot of our top holders now are miners that just didn't sell or sold minimal.
yeah, you're basically doing loads of OTC deals with your miners on a daily
Yes.
basis.
Yeah, effectively.
Nice. Okay. And so obviously Claude Code, Devin, all that, they're all like black box type stuff. If you were to, and at the moment, again, I'm not a coder, so my knowledge is very thin. So you every now and then you post these things like you give them a whole bunch of tasks, and at the moment you're like 46% and it's going up and
Mhm.
whatnot. If you were to
Yeah.
just give Claude Code the same tasks, what
Yeah.
percentage would Claude get?
74%.
74. Okay. So
Yeah.
when you eventually surpass Claude Code,
Yeah.
because you're open and they're closed, what's stopping them from just going, oh, thanks for that model, and then
Yeah.
you're improving their bot?
Good question. The main answer for that is that we have two things. One is that we're actually going to have a model coming out like next week, like a system where we actually hide the very top code until someone else can beat it. So they'll never have the very like state of the art thing. The second one is just like legal protection. Like at the end of the day, these are huge companies, and there is an angle. I think like the main angle is that like if you take this code, like there's like a license with it for you not to use it for commercial activity. If you do, we'll sue you. Beyond that, I'm not sure how much more we can do.
Actually, yeah, turn them into frenemies. Yeah, milk them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
Okay. And have you played with ChatGPT GPT-5 that came out recently?
I have, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
And have you run GPT-5 against the same tasks? Do you know what percentage they get?
We haven't. We're actually doing that right now. Like the guys are back there running it on Claude, like the new Opus 4.1 and GPT-5.
Cool.
But yeah, like it seems like it's much better at like solving problems in one shot, which is interesting. Yeah.
Because I have like my own little like test that I give them. So the family, we love this board game called Farms Race. It's a bit like
Right.
Risk and Settlers of Catan, and it's basically farm animals lobbing nukes and stuff. And it's good. And one of the things I do regularly is ask Grok or GPT is like, here's the game. Can you create?
Yeah.
I'm not a coder. I can't add anything to GitHub or anything. Just code it, and so I can press play and go. And so far, every LLM has failed miserably. And I did it last night. Grok 4, terrible.
Yeah.
GPT-5, did 705 lines of code in about 5 minutes. And all I have to do is run code, and I can play it. It's literally created a computer game.
Oh wow, that's sick. That's
And I
really
was
cool.
like, yeah, that's a remarkable step change from Grok 4, even though technically Elon says. So yeah. So I'll be curious to see what percentage 5 gets with you guys.
Yeah, I'm curious as well.
So you said that you've got people back there. The guys are sorting out GPT-5 now. How many are on the team, and how many of those are in kind of sales and marketing?
None yet. So we do have to hire as soon as we get a product. We'll start building up like the actual sales team, especially for like enterprise, because I think we have a very good angle, just given that we're open source and enterprises can use it without any like privacy concerns. There's 5 of us right now, including myself, all engineers.
And so what's the timeline then for having that product, and then for finding the right person to start selling it?
So I've never built a sales team before. I think have to do a lot more research and probably get some advice from people on how to do that. I think we're weeks away from the product. At the current pace that the miners are improving the actual software around it, I don't think we're like a couple big unlocks away from being able to release something that's somewhat competitive with Claude Code, but an order of magnitude cheaper.
How far until you match Claude Code with the 74% or more?
Like we're weeks away. Like I think probably 6-7 weeks at most. Yeah. At most.
And what's Claude Code valued at the moment? How many billions?
Well, they're owned by Anthropic, which is like probably like hundreds of billions at this point.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. And okay, so what about brand new novel tasks? So let's just I live in Norwich. Let's say I wanted to create a dashboard that tracks rainfall and it gives me alerts when blah blah blah. Like if I had to find a whole bunch of devs to build that, it would probably cost me $100,000.
Yeah.
So would you guys would Ridges in its final form be able to just build that out for me, just like ChatGPT-5 has built that game for me?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. That's actually what we specialize on. Like we want people to like kind of be able to do all the little steps to actually build the final product instead of just doing this one task well. Because when you can only do one task well, there's a bunch of tasks to be done. You have to have an engineer to manage that. I think that this is actually like a pretty big unlock that we have, where right now the pricing for these products it's like an accelerant to a human engineer. So you're only willing to pay like a fraction of the human engineer's salary because it's just making them a bit more productive. And companies seem to be pricing that not very highly. But I think that if we can replace the engineer entirely, you can price it quite a bit higher, because now each seat on the platform represents a full human engineer's salary. So it's not unreasonable to charge something like $1,000 a month for it, because it's like replaced an entire human person that's like getting paid tens of thousands a month.
But the price point there isn't going to be relative to what it's replacing. It's going to be relative to the competition.
Yes, that's true. The competition is much more expensive. So I use Claude Code like on a daily basis now. I pay around $3,500 a month for it because I'm actually using like the actual token usage.
So for Claude Code, you're spending $3,500 a month, but that is effectively replacing a coder at $10K per month
or more. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's already very useful.
And you think you're going to be able to come in at $1,000 a month?
Something like that. I haven't really thought too much about like how to price it initially. Perhaps even we price it very cheap initially. I think that eventually we can charge like quite a bit for it. But initially, like another idea we had was that just to get that initial distribution, because our unit economics let us charge a lot less, we could kind of release it for cheaper. The honest answer to this is I'm not 100% sure how to start the pricing.
Yeah, because you mentioned seats there, didn't you? So like a team of 10 coders, you're thinking,
Yeah.
well, I'm just going to replace that with 10 seats, but surely they're just going to need one because that code is going to be faster and is going to work around the clock.
Yes, unless you can actually like just have like 10 people that are working like that, or like multiple seats, like let's say 3, 4, 5 seats, where like one manager can just like send each of those seats down a task, and it gets like way more done than the whole team of 10 ever could.
Okay. And what about Grok 4 Heavy? So obviously, so Grok 4 Heavy is a lot better than Grok 4 because they're using parallel
Mixture of
bots.
experts. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how does that do with your percentage of the task? Are they?
So I mean that's like there's basically like two classes of models that we're seeing. There's models that are really good at coding, like Opus 4.1 from Anthropic, or like GPT-5 is good at coding. So we're focusing on like evaluating those. We haven't tried Grok 4 Heavy because it's more of like a thinking kind of model.
And like with every company, they all have different languages that their stack has been built on. Are you
Yeah.
language agnostic?
Completely agnostic. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because it's the LLM. Whatever the LLM can code in, the agent can do.
So I guess you could then go to Ridges and go, hey, here's my whole code base for my company or whatever. Can you
Mhm.
find any flaws or improvements in it? Would it be able to do
Yes.
stuff like that? So,
Exactly. Yep.
okay, so so you'll be like coding up subnets. Like surely
Yeah.
you
This
direct
is
Ridges and look at every subnet and go, oh hey mate, we just had a look at your code. It's shit here, here, and here. Fix it.
we could do that. Yeah. I was actually curious to see like how long it takes before miners, because they're the ones that see this the most, to try to use it to like mine other subnets too and like make themselves more productive there.
Wow, I guess you could do subnet as a service, couldn't you? So like I meet dozens of people who are, I want to set up a subnet, I've got an idea,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. And the
They can
CTO is,
build it up.
yeah, it's the CTO, which
Yeah.
is always the bottleneck. They're like, I don't know how to do it. So I
Yeah.
guess, could they, in theory, once you're up and running, could they pay you and say, hey, here's my subnet, here's what I want it to do, and then you guys just code it up for them?
Yeah. Very much so. Yeah. Or even like we give them like an interface to do it for themselves. Like it's super super straightforward to do.
Okay. I can see Ridges being used to, have a look at a lot of different subnets. Interesting.
So, question for both of you then, because we've never done this before on a revenue search, but given how you launched the episode, Siam, why do you choose to do a big OTC deal with Ridges? I mean, you've learned some stuff on this revenue search that you obviously didn't know ahead of time, but we've put as DSV chunks of 50, chunks of 100 into different subnets. On initial OTC deals, I think I'm right in saying we've never gone beyond 100 yet, and then you've put 200 into Ridges before the revenue search. What made you do that?
It's a good question, and I've got lots of different answers, and I think some of these answers are going to piss off a lot of people. So at the moment, if you're someone with a lot of TAO to deploy, I mean, hell, look at the top 200 wallets. Barely any of them are in alpha. Barely any. Everyone's in root. And when you have a lot of TAO to deploy, there's not really that many subnets that you can deploy into and not get punched in the balls every 2 days. And what I mean by that is that if you just open up a browser, go to TAO Sats, and just open up every subnet chart, I would say 70% of the subnets are doing down only price action. Okay. And like you could go as far as just drawing a line, like whatever the cadence is, draw a best fit line. And you could be like, okay, well, in September, 15th of September, the price will halve by, whatever the cadence is. And so, yes, some of these subnets have huge and deep liquidity now. If you can filter it, and there's a good, 15 odd subnets that have, pretty good depth now. But when you look at the price, you just know you're going to be underwater straight away because the subnets haven't got a handle on the constant minor dumpage, basically. And my opinion, I've said this for a long time, and I know a lot of people don't agree with this, but until the subnet can generate revenue and do buyback and burns, or just no, ignore the burning, just do buybacks, which at least match daily miner selling, their chart is only going to go down. And so one of the, I guess, little problems or errors that I've made, which I can see in hindsight now, is that I've maybe used too much fundamental analysis with some of my OTC, or not OTC deals, but just detail trading full stop. Because you look at a company, you love everything about them. The team is great, the product's great, the product's going to be world changing, blah, 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 blah. But because they're 12 months away from any real revenue, there's no forcing function there's no vector to stop the bleeding of price. And so there's times where I've just used pure fundamental analysis, like TradFi type stuff, and gone, this is amazing. Meanwhile, as I said, you get punched in the dick every day. So when one of the things I look for, sorry, bad analogy. Okay, we're equal opportunity, punched in the boobs all day. So now one of the things I look at is that, has the chart already bled out? Has it made a bottom? Is the subnet emissions increasing nicely? Is there a stable price action? And when you filter everything down from that, you'll end up with like 6 charts. Ridges happens to be one of those charts where it's not down only. And everything I've said over the last, 5 minutes, doesn't mean I hate all the other subnets. I love, I could reel off 40 subnets, which I think are going to change the world. But until the charts bottom out and are just a bit more stable, it's hard for people to deploy into. And so obviously Ridges has been going up. I've been buying Ridges with not just DSV stuff, but for a while. I think my first buy of you guys was around the 0.05 tower level.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm a good percent.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, Sorry?
Does that make sense? I sort of got off on one there.
It makes sense. I mean, it doesn't answer the question.
What was the question then? I thought there was a question.
The question was, basically, what attracted you to Ridges? Whether I mean, the chart and the analysis and the technical was, but from a fundamental perspective, what?
Okay, yeah. I think like the stuff that we've already highlighted, we've had 3 or 4 Zooms before we ever did a deal. Like I remember having a Zoom with Shak months ago, and over time we've got to know him. He's solid. The team's solid. I love that he's running lean. I mean, you're still in your dad's basement or your parents' house or something like that.
We work out of my dad's basement. Yeah.
Yeah. We like seeing lean stuff. What we don't want to see is fancy glass offices and wasting money where it's not needed. And what you're building has real potential. So, and obviously, I guess you're pretty soon for revenue, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't think we're too far. This is like our I started a long time ago and then it didn't work out, and then I eventually bought the company from my partners. I bought them out. So we relaunched in May and end of May. So since then it's just been the one goal is get a real product out to show that this actually works and can actually makes more sense of Bittensor. We can actually bring cash in the door.
Cool. Well, let's just push revenue just for a moment, because on behalf of the 630 people on this right now, if I was one of them, I'd want to know what are you going to do with the money, Shak? Why did you do an OTC with DSV? What are you going to do with the $200,000?
2 biggest ones right now are inference. So our agents are using a lot of tokens. I think we represent a good portion of Shoots and probably some of Targon's usage at this point. And so we're seeing a lot of agents actually fail because they're running out of capacity. So we're probably going to either start buying machines themselves or start mining, or just have our own data server to kind of take the extra load where it's needed. And the second is just all that kind of other. So I haven't sold any alpha since we started the project. I was just running off savings, and I was kind of running out of savings. So just some to just sustain the company.
That's fair. I love the honesty of that. I was running out of savings.
Yeah, running out
That's
of money
great.
a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So then, go on, Simon.
No, I was going to say this leads us to that very tricky dilemma of
Yeah.
for subnet owners. Do you buy back and burn? Do you buy back and hold it, or buy back and then maybe put it in a DAO like what Shoots is
So
planning to do in the
when
future?
you get the revenue, when the revenue starts to flow in, what are you going to do with it?
So I mean, I think we'll have like a lot of profit from our revenue just because like our margins are very low. These companies, the competitors, they have two big costs: inference, which you pay 1/250 of the price running on Shoots and Targon, and they pay for R&D. Like engineers for the kind of stuff are expensive, but they're building like our engineers that are building the product are on Bittensor, so we're not like the network is paying for this in alpha. And so I think it makes sense to like reallocate a lot of that money back into the product, either through buying back alpha or through like other R&D things that we can do to like try to improve it. For example, like bounties, to augment the emissions that are going out to miners so that they don't have to sell as much, stuff like that.
See, I like that because I think what X can turn into a bit of an echo chamber, and what every alpha holder wants to hear. So on the far left over here, we have I want buy back and burn because that is like the perfect
The
thing
easiest way. Yeah.
for the holder. But from a business growth perspective, that's not always what you should do. Like you want to reinvest in the company so you can be bigger, faster, better, cheaper, all that sort of stuff. So you hearing that you want to buy back and have some of your own compute to mine yourself, that's music to my ears because it shows that you're not just thinking of short-term crypto tokenomics. You're thinking this is a proper business here. I've got to scale this thing.
Yeah, and I think that if we nailed it, like the actual business, like the token price will go up with it. Like if we actually deliver on this product and stuff, that's I'm less concerned about that in the long term.
Okay. And is this is maybe a bit of an intrusive question, but feel free to say no or not. Do you have a topco which owns everything in Ridges? And are
Um,
you then going to look for a Series A on topco if you do?
we do have a company, but it's like there's like a bunch of legal stuff here that I don't want to get into. Like we're just like considering how to structure it again, because I structured it like with a bit of a basic structure initially, which I think makes less sense. For example, like we have this feature now where anyone can mine, and that creates like a bunch of other legal issues now because we're sending money to like random people. So there's like KYC, there's liability there. So like we have to like restructure all that kind of stuff first.
Has he
I think
muted
you're muted
himself?
again.
You've muted yourself again, Simon.
It's auto muting.
You're unmuted now. I pressed unmute.
I didn't. My computer had a bit of a wiggle wobble.
What were you saying?
Who knows?
Okay, well then I've only got one question left, and I actually don't know what on earth the answer could be. But when you sorted out all of that legal entity stuff, what happens if Claude just sends you a little note saying, "Yeah, we'd be very interested in buying you for $1 billion"?
It doesn't really make sense because what are you buying? Like the product, the point is that the product gets better because the miners are making it better every day. So are you buying the team? I mean, the team is just building the incentive mechanism. Are you buying like the current state of it? I mean, sure, we can give you a license, but why would you have to buy the company to do this?
Yeah. Well, you'll be dicking all over them soon, so you'll be embarrassing their whole revenue. Their whole
Fingers crossed.
business. So they're going to be desperate whether to So I wouldn't be surprised if you did get all sorts of little taps on the shoulder to hey, fancy selling, and then maybe they're using Ridges as part of their black box. White
Yeah,
label.
maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much sense that would make because it's like everything's open source as well. So it's like if you were to buy the company at the current state, you'd just be buying the current top miner, and in a week from now, it could have been much better. So it's like
Yeah.
I think it makes more sense to do a license deal than it would be to do a buyout for this kind of structure.
No.
Nice. So yeah, big market, 400 billion a year. You're going to
Long
disrupt
way to go.
it hugely. Revenue is going to come soon. It's all looking very, very good, isn't it, for Ridges? I like the sound of it.
I know we've sort of touched on this. You said you've never built a sales team before, etc. But do you have any plans on how you're going to knock on those those enterprise doors and get the bigger contracts?
I don't, but I actually have one advisor that I've been talking to a lot about like how to build out a sales team. It was actually him that mentioned this to me first. He's like, you got to start thinking from now, kind of like how you build out that sales arm. So transparently, no, I don't know. But I'll probably be talking to him a lot about it to figure it out.
Cool. Nice. At least it's on your to-do list, your immediate to-do list, which again,
Yeah, sooner than
Good.
later.
Sweet.
Good.
Cool.
Well, that draws a line underneath this episode of Revenue Search. What have we got coming up?
Makes sense.
2 next week. We have Subnet 54 on Wednesday, and then later on in the same day, we have Carrier from Xtown. So this will be the first non-subnet owner on Revenue Search.
Well, that's going to be very exciting.
Very exciting, yes.
So yeah, so we're back next. Well, we're back. It's Friday today, it turns out. So back on Wednesday.
Back on Wednesday.
Wonderful.
And Shak, again, thank you so much for your time. You now officially hold the longest Revenue Search interview. So
Yeah. How long has it been? Oh, 45 minutes. Wow.
Also the highest number of viewers.
686
Oh, really?
live. Nice.
686
Nice.
live. Very, very good. Thanks, Shak.
Cool.
Really appreciate
Thanks for
it.
having me, guys.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, folks. Bye.